There is a shift in Europe towards supporting Putin. Ukraine is fighting to keep its foreign commitment through a harsh winter, and two of the EU's most vocal populists, who are both typically labeled as Moscow allies, are teaming up to stifle bloc financing for the country. During bilateral meetings in Budapest on Tuesday, Prime Ministers Viktor Orbán of Hungary and Robert Fico of Slovakia discussed the European Union's proposed $54 billion aid package for Ukraine over 4 years. The majority of EU member states want to fund the package out of the bloc's common budget, shortly after the European Council authorized the start of membership negotiations with Kyiv in December. Orbán stood alone as the only opponent of the financing package. Fico stated on Tuesday that he had listened very carefully to the proposals brought forth by his Hungarian counterpart in relation to the review of the budget and aid to Ukraine. "I will repeat that we consider them to be rational and sensible," added the president. Orbán remained steadfast in his stance. "If we want to help Ukraine, which I think we need to do, we must do so without damaging the EU budget," the prime minister remarked following the bilateral meeting. Splitting the 4-year financial package into 4 equal installments and re-evaluating each one annually before sending them to Ukraine is what Orbán has proposed. All of the EU member states, including Hungary, would have more chances to delay or obstruct each phase if this happened. On February 1, member states of the European Union will gather in Brussels to attempt to reach a consensus. Slovakia will support Orbán's plan, according to Fico. "I look forward to seeing you soon on February 1 in Brussels, where we will watch with full understanding your legitimate fight for what you started at the last European Council," Fico communicated with his counterpart on Tuesday. In an effort to get a response, Newsweek has sent an email to the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry. According to many in the Central European nation, Ukraine fatigue was on display when Fico was reinstated as prime minister at the end of last year. The socialist leader has been quite vocal about his belief that Ukraine will lose the conflict it is fighting with Russia. The Slovakian parliament granted the defense ministry a veto over arms exports this week, which might allow private corporations to continue arming Ukraine, despite Fico's campaign promise not to send another bullet to the Ukrainian government. But Fico has persisted in criticizing the EU-NATO stance toward Russia's nearly 2-year conflict in Ukraine. This past week, Fico wrote an opinion piece for the Slovak tabloid Pravda in which he stated that his NATO and European Union colleagues made a huge mistake by rejecting Russian demands for an immediate end to the fighting. Instead, he claimed that the West incorrectly evaluated the use of Russian military force as an opportunity to bring Russia to its knees. Orbán seems to have found a natural friend in Fico, an anti-establishment populist who is reluctant to cut ties with Moscow. In an interview with Newsweek conducted before last year's October election, Elena Kudsko, VP for Policy and Programs at Slovakia's Globsec think tank, predicted that Fico's pragmatic political philosophy will inform his administration's policies. "He will not support Russia for the sake of supporting Russia, he will not support Orbán for the sake of supporting Orbán, and he will not support the EU or NATO for the sake of supporting the EU or NATO," according to her. "If it's necessary, he very may well go along with EU and NATO decisions," said Kudsko. "But of course, he may make sure that he is bargaining hard and that he's able to get certain concessions for Slovakia that are useful for him at home." Following Wednesday's crash in Bishkek, the capital of Kyrgyzstan, that killed 1 and injured several others, photos of the Mi-8 military helicopter have surfaced online. Russian state-run news outlet TASS said on Wednesday that the Soviet-era helicopter went down at 10:55 a.m. local time at the Frunze 1 airbase. The article cited a statement from Kyrgyzstan's aviation administration, Kyrgyz Aeronavigatsiya. The Kyrgyz Defense Ministry confirmed to local news agency Khabar that the chopper was in fact owned by the Kyrgyz military. The accident claimed the life of 1 and left 10 others hurt. 4 of those injured are currently in critical care, according to the ministry. According to a statement from the Kyrgyz Defense Ministry, the helicopter performed an emergency hard landing while on a training mission. Air Defense Forces and the Ministry of Defense are attempting to determine what happened. Newsweek has sent email requests for comment to the Russian and Kyrgyz defense ministries. Local media have shared photos depicting debris at the accident site. In 1876, Kyrgyzstan was included into the Russian Empire and subsequently became a republic of the Soviet Union. There are still Russian military outposts in the Central Asian country, even though it gained autonomy as a nation-state after the Soviet Union broke apart in 1991. The Mi-8, according to TASS, is a well-known Soviet and Russian model of helicopter, and one of the most mass-produced helicopters in the world. It was designed in the 1960s. More than 100 countries have purchased the twin-engined planes that were made to carry soldiers. The most recent Mi-8 crash was in August 2023, when 3 persons were killed when a helicopter from Russia's Federal Security Service, FSB, crashed near the Predny settlement in the Chelyabinsk region, according to RIA Novosti, a state-run news agency. An emergency services official said the incident occurred during a planned flight, and 3 members of the crew were killed while touching down in southern Siberia in July 2023. A Mi-8 caught fire in the Altai Republic of Russia. The incident resulted in 4 deaths and 10 injuries. In October 2023, Russian President Vladimir Putin paid a visit to Kyrgyzstan. While there, he met with the presidents of Kyrgyzstan and Azerbaijan in Bishkek. Additional facts and a revised headline have been added to this item as of January 17, 24, 6:32 a.m. ET. In your opinion, what international news story would Newsweek be missing? Concerned about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine?